The church smelled like expensive lilies and impending disaster, though I didn't know it yet. My dress cost $4,000, the flowers cost $10,000, and the venue was a historic cathedral that we had booked 2 years in advance. It was a $50,000 production, and I was the leading lady, or so I thought. I stood at the altar, my hands trembling slightly in Ansel's grip. He looked handsome in his tuxedo, his hair perfectly styled, but his eyes were red. He was crying. I felt a surge of love so powerful it almost knocked me over. I thought he was overwhelmed by the emotion of marrying me. The priest cleared his throat and asked for the vows. The silence in the room was thick, heavy with expectation. Ansel squeezed my hands tight, looking deep into my eyes. Tears streamed down his cheeks. "I take thee, Mercy," he whispered, his voice cracking with a sob. The air left the room instantly. 200 guests froze. In the front row, my sister Mercy gasped. But when I looked at her, she didn't look shocked. She looked like a deer caught in headlights, guilty, terrified, and exposed. Ansel didn't correct himself. He just stared at me, paralyzed. I dropped his hands as if they were burning coals. I didn't cry. The shock was too cold for tears. I turned to the stunned crowd, grabbed the microphone from the priest's stand, and my voice boomed through the speakers. "Show's over. Grab a gift bag and get out." The chaos that followed was a blur of whispers and rushing footsteps, but the real nightmare started 20 minutes later in the bridal suite. I sat on a velvet chair, my dress taking up the whole space, while Ansel and Mercy stood in front of me. "It was just a slip of the tongue, Opal," Ansel pleaded, wiping his eyes. "Mercy helped plan the whole wedding. Her name has just been on my mind because of the seating charts and the vendors. You're overreacting." Mercy nodded vigorously, her hand resting on his arm a little too comfortably. "Exactly, Opal. Don't be crazy. He loves you." For a second, just a split second, I almost believed them. I wanted to believe them. The alternative was too painful to consider. I took a shaky breath. "Okay, maybe I am in shock. Give me your phone, Ansel. I need to call an Uber. I left mine in the car." Ansel froze. "Why? Just use Mercy." "No," I said, my voice hardening. "Give me your phone." He clutched his pocket. I didn't wait. I lunged forward, adrenaline giving me strength, and wrestled the phone from his hand. I knew the passcode. It was his birthday. I unlocked it and opened his messages. There it was, sent 10 minutes before the ceremony began. To Mercy. "I can't do this to her, Mercy. I love you. I wish it was you standing there." The door opened, and my parents, Sabine and Lucian, walked in. I turned the screen to them, shaking. "Look, they're having an affair." My mother didn't hug me. She sighed, looking at the expensive catering spread. "Opal, stop making a scene. We already paid for the food. Just go back out there and finish the ceremony. We can deal with this privately." I looked at my parents like they were strangers. They didn't care about my broken heart. They cared about their reputation and the non-refundable deposit. I didn't say another word. I dropped Ansel's phone on the floor, gathered my heavy skirts, and walked out the back exit. I stood on the curb in my wedding dress, a spectacle for passing cars, until my Uber arrived. The driver didn't say a word, just turned up the radio. I stared out the window, watching the city pass by, feeling numb. I directed him to the house. It was a beautiful craftsman bungalow I had bought 3 years ago. I paid the down payment. I paid the mortgage. But because I had credit issues from student loans at the time, I had put Ansel's name on the deed for tax reasons and to get a better interest rate. It was the biggest mistake of my life. I walked up the driveway and jammed my key into the lock. It wouldn't turn. I jiggled it, pulled it out, and tried again. Nothing. Then I noticed the shiny new brass on the deadbolt. The locks had been changed. Panic set in. I stepped back and looked at the driveway. Mercy's car was parked there. My phone buzzed in my hand. It was a text from Ansel. "Let's cool off. Mercy is staying here tonight to mediate things between us. You're too emotional right now. You should stay at a hotel. We can talk tomorrow." I stood on my own porch, locked out of my own life. They hadn't just ruined my wedding. They had stolen my home on my wedding night. I walked 3 miles to the nearest motel, because I didn't want to spend money on another Uber. My feet were blistered and bleeding in my heels. I slapped my debit card on the counter to pay for a room. Declined, the clerk said, not looking up from his magazine. Try it again, I said, my voice trembling. There's plenty of money on there. He swiped it again. Declined. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. My stomach dropped so hard I felt nauseous. The joint savings account, the one I had built up for 5 years to pay for the house renovations, was reading $0. $80,000. Gone. I frantically clicked on the transfer history. The money had been moved 30 minutes ago to a crypto wallet labeled New Beginning. I called the bank immediately, sitting on the dirty floor of the motel lobby. This is fraud. I didn't authorize this. The operator sounded bored. The transfer was authorized by the secondary account holder, Mercy Vane. Since she was added to the account last week, she has full access rights. My phone slipped from my hand. Last week, Ansel had convinced me to add Mercy to the account in case of emergencies while we were on our honeymoon. He said it was just for safety. It wasn't for safety. It was a robbery. I slept in the backseat of my car that night. It was freezing, and my wedding dress took up most of the space. I woke up with a stiff neck and a heart full of rage. I wasn't going to cry anymore. I was going to get answers. I drove back to my house at 8:00 a.m. I banged on the door until my father, Lucien, opened it. He looked annoyed, holding a cup of coffee. "You're finally calm," he asked. I pushed past him. In the kitchen, the whole family was having a brunch. Ansel was cooking eggs. Mercy was sitting at the island, looking tragic and fragile. My mother, Sabine, was rubbing Mercy's back. "I want my house back," I said, my voice raspy, "and I want my money." Sabine stood up. "Sit down, Opal. We need to explain the reality of the situation." "The reality is theft," I spat. "The reality," Sabine said, her voice stern, "is that you have to understand. Mercy is pregnant. Ansel is the father." The room spun. Mercy looked up, tears brimming in her eyes. "It just happened, Opal. We didn't plan it, but there's a baby now." "We have to support the baby," Lucien added, stepping next to my mother. "This house is the best place for a child." "You have a good job, Opal. You can find another apartment. Mercy needs the stability." They weren't just kicking me out. They were replacing me. My parents knew. I looked at their faces and realized the truth. They had known about the affair for months and said nothing because they wanted a grandchild more than they wanted a happy daughter. I looked at the 4 of them, my parents, my sister, and my fiancé. They were a united front, a wall of selfishness. If I fought them now, screaming and yelling, they would call the police. They would paint me as the villain. I took a deep breath and let my shoulders slump. I forced my face to look defeated. "Fine," I whispered. "You win, I just want my clothes." Ansel let out a sigh of relief. "That's reasonable. Thank you for being an adult about this, Opal." I walked upstairs to the bedroom I had painted. I pulled out my suitcases. I packed my clothes slowly. While I was in the closet, I saw Ansel's gaming case. I knew he hid things in there. I opened the back panel. Inside was a small black notebook, his burn book. Ansel did side jobs in construction and IT to hide money from the IRS. He wrote every illegal cash transaction in this book. I flipped through it, thousands of dollars in unreported income. Then, tucked in the back flap, I found a sticky note. It was a string of random words, Apple horse battery staple. It was the seed phrase for a crypto wallet. The receipt attached to it was dated yesterday. I didn't steal the book. That would be theft. Instead, I took high-resolution photos of every single page. I photographed the seed phrase. I put everything back exactly how I found it. I walked downstairs with my suitcases, head bowed. "I'm leaving," I said softly. "Good luck, Opal," Mercy said, biting into a strawberry. I went straight to the office of Mavis Thorne. Mavis and I went to college together. She was terrifying back then, and she was a legendary divorce lawyer now. I sat in her office, looking like a wreck, and told her everything. Mavis listened, tapping her pen against her desk. She pulled up the property records on her computer. "He tricked you, Opal," she said. "His name is on the title, yes. But because you paid the mortgage from your personal account for 3 years before adding him, and we can prove the down payment came from you, this is contested property. He can't just kick you out." She started typing furiously. "But we aren't going to just sue for divorce. We are going to demolish him." She paused, squinting at the screen. "Wait a minute." "What?" I asked. "There's a lien on the house," Mavis said. "A second mortgage was taken out 4 months ago, $50,000. "I didn't sign for that," I said, confused. "You didn't have to. His name is on the deed." Mavis turned the screen to me. "The loan was used to fund a business called Mercy's Boutique." My blood boiled. Ansel had leveraged our home, my home, to pay for my sister's failed fashion dreams behind my back. Mavis smiled, a sharp, dangerous smile. "Okay, now I'm mad. Let's draft the paperwork." I tried to return to normal life. I went to my job the next day. I was a high-level logistics manager for a shipping company. I needed the distraction. But at 10:00 a.m., I was called into HR. My boss, a man I had known for 5 years, wouldn't look me in the eye. "Opal, we received a disturbing call," he said. He turned his laptop around. It was a video. It was me at the altar screaming, "Show, over," but it had been edited. The context of Ansel saying Mercy's name was cut out. It just showed me grabbing the mic, screaming, and looking violent. "Ansel called us," HR said. "He claims you are having a mental breakdown. He said you threatened self-harm and violence against his family. Given the video, we have to place you on administrative leave pending a psych evaluation." "He is lying," I shouted, standing up. "He cheated on me." "Please lower your voice," the HR rep said. "This behavior confirms the report. Please hand over your badge." I walked out of the building, box of personal items in hand, shaking with rage. He was trying to destroy my livelihood so I couldn't afford a lawyer. As I reached the parking lot, I saw Mercy's car parked at the curb. She rolled down the window and smiled. Her phone buzzed in her hand. My phone pinged. A text from Mercy. "I always liked your office view. Maybe I'll apply when your position opens up." I sat in my car and screamed until my throat hurt. Then I stopped. Screaming wasn't working. Playing by the rules wasn't working. I needed to fight dirty. I wiped my face and typed a text to Ansel. "You're right, I'm spiraling. The baby is innocent and I don't want to fight anymore. I'll sign the house over if you give me a small settlement for the furniture. Let's handle this civilly." He replied instantly. "Thank God you came to your senses. Come over at 6. They thought I was weak. They thought they had broken me. I arrived at the house at 6:00 p.m. The air was tense. I signed the papers they put in front of me, papers Mavis had already told me were legally void because of the fraud. I acted meek. "Can I just use the bathroom before I go?" I asked. "Make it quick," Sabine said. I went to the hallway closet where the server for the smart home system was kept. I plugged my phone into the USB port. I was a logistics manager, but I minored in computer science. I uploaded a script I had written that morning. It buried a new super admin profile deep in the system code, hidden from the user interface. While the script ran, I went into the living room and slid an old smartphone, taped to a battery pack, under the heavy oak couch. I dropped another one behind the headboard in the master bedroom. They were set to auto-answer silently. "I'm done," I said, walking out. "Bye, Opal," Mercy called out. "Don't be a stranger." I moved into a cheap, dingy apartment on the edge of town. It smelled like stale cigarettes, but it had Wi-Fi. That was all I needed. I set up my laptop and put on my headphones. I dialed into the phone hidden under the couch. The audio was crisp. "I can't believe she actually signed it," Mercy's voice laughed. "She is so stupid." "I feel a little bad," Ansel said. "She looked rough." "Don't you dare feel bad," Mercy snapped. "She treated me like garbage my whole life. She deserves this. Besides, we need the money for the baby." There was a pause, then Ansel spoke again. "About that, Have you made the doctor appointment yet? You're showing a little early, aren't you? Mercy giggled. Ansel, you're so cute. I'm not pregnant yet. My heart stopped. What? Ansel's voice rose. But the test. I bought a positive test online, Mercy said casually. I had to do something to get you to finally leave her. You were dragging your feet. Now that we're together, we can make a real baby. It'll be fun practicing. I hit the record button so hard I nearly broke my key. She had faked it. There was no baby. My parents had disowned me for a lie. I saved the audio file. Then I backed it up to 3 different cloud servers. I named the file The Bomb, MP3. My phone rang the next day. It was Leif, Ansel's best man. Leif had been quiet during the wedding, but he had always been kind to me. Opal, he said, his voice low. I can't sleep. I feel sick about what happened. You should, I said coldly. I know, look, I didn't know about the name swap, but I knew about the cheating. I wanted to tell you, but Ansel is my brother, you know, he sighed. But what they're doing to you now, the job stuff, it's too far. Tell me something I can use, Leif, I said. Remember that business trip Ansel took last month, to Chicago? Yes, I said. He didn't go to Chicago. He went to Vegas with Mercy and Opal. He used your credit card points to book the suite. He bragged about it to me. My stomach churned. Send me the proof. I have photos, Leif said. But there's more. He's talking about selling the vintage Mustang in the garage, your grandmother's car. He can't, I said. That's in my name. He's looking for a buyer who pays cash and doesn't ask for titles. He says he needs the money for the nursery. The Mustang was the only thing I had left of my grandmother. It was my prized possession. I couldn't just go steal the car back. They would call the cops and say I was trespassing. I had to be smart. I checked the tracking device I had hidden in the glove box years ago. It was still active. 2 days later, the car moved. Ansel was driving it to a job interview downtown. His current job was shaky, and he was looking for a backup. I drove to the building and watched from across the street. Ansel pulled up to the valet stand. He looked arrogant, stepping out of my vintage blue Mustang, tossing the keys to the valet. He walked inside the building. I waited 2 minutes. Then I walked up to the valet stand. Hi, I said, smiling brightly. I'm so sorry, my husband just dropped this off, but I have the spare key and I actually need to take it to get detailed right now. I have my ID proving ownership. I showed the valet my license and the registration card I kept in my purse. The names matched. The valet didn't care. He handed me the keys Ansel had just dropped off. Have a nice day, ma'am. I got in, adjusted the mirror, and drove away. 30 minutes later, my listening device in the house picked up the phone call. Ansel was screaming at the police. My car was stolen, from the valet. I heard the police officer on speakerphone. Sir, we ran the plate. The registered owner called us 10 minutes ago to let us know she has the vehicle. It's a civil dispute. Stop wasting 911's time. The victory with the car felt good, but the war wasn't over. Enter Fern, Ansel's mother. Fern had never liked me. She thought I was too career-focused and not homely enough for her precious son. While I was plotting in my apartment, a friend sent me a screenshot of Facebook. Fern had posted a long, public rant. It is sad to see a marriage end, but the truth always comes out. Opal was barren and cold. She refused to give my son a family. Ansel found comfort in a woman who is ready to be a mother. We are so blessed to welcome a grandchild. God is good. The post had hundreds of likes from our small town. She was justifying the cheating by blaming my body. I opened my laptop. Last Christmas, Fern had come to me crying. She had racked up $10,000 in online gambling debt. She was terrified Lucien, my father, would find out. I paid it off for her to keep the peace. I found the PDF receipt of the transfer. I found the emails where she begged me to hide it. I commented on her Facebook post. I might be cold, Fern, but I'm the only reason your kneecaps weren't broken by loan sharks last December. Here is the receipt for your gambling debts I paid off. God is good indeed. I attached the image. Within 10 minutes, the post was deleted, but the screenshots were already circulating in the town group chat. Mercy needed to keep the lie going. She couldn't hide the lack of a baby bump forever, so she decided to go big. She ordered a fake silicone baby bump online and scheduled a gender reveal party at the house. They invited everyone. My aunts, uncles, cousins, friends. They invited my parents. Obviously, I was not invited. But I was the admin. I sat in my apartment, watching the party through the security cameras I still had access to. The backyard was decorated in pink and blue balloons. There was a huge TV set up to display the result. At 2:00 p.m., everyone gathered around the TV. Ansel looked nervous. Mercy looked radiant, holding her fake belly. My parents stood proudly to the side. "Okay, everyone," Mercy shouted. "Count down with us. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I hit the enter key on my laptop. I hijacked the smart TV feed, but I didn't play a video. I played the audio file from Chapter 10. The screen went black, and Mercy's voice boomed through the high-quality outdoor speakers. "I bought a positive test online. I had to do something to get you to finally leave her. Now that we're together, we can make a real baby." The silence in the backyard was louder than the cheering had been. For a solid 10 seconds, nobody moved. The recording looped again. I faked the test. Ansel dropped his beer. He turned to Mercy, his face turning a shade of purple I had never seen before. "What is that?" he whispered. Mercy was shaking her head, backing away. "It's fake. It's AI. Opal did this. She used AI to clone my voice." "It didn't sound like AI, Mercy," my mother, Sabine, said, her voice trembling. "It sounded exactly like you." The guests started whispering. My cousin laughed nervously. Ansel grabbed Mercy by the shoulders. "Are you pregnant or not? Show me the ultrasound, the real one." Mercy started crying, real ugly tears this time. "I did it for us. You wouldn't leave her. I had to save you." Ansel shoved her away. He looked at his parents, my parents, and their friends. The humiliation was total. He screamed, "Get out! Everyone get out!" People scrambled for the exit. My parents stood there, looking at Mercy's flat stomach, realizing they had traded their honest daughter for a liar. While they were dealing with the emotional fallout, I executed the next phase, the financial ruin. I took the photos of the burn book and the crypto wallet receipt. I put them in a manila envelope. I mailed it anonymously to the IRS tip line. I also scanned the pages and emailed them to the compliance officer at Ansel's finance firm. Ansel worked in banking. You cannot work in banking if you are committing tax fraud. 3 days after the disastrous gender reveal, Ansel was called into his office. He was escorted out by security an hour later. The IRS works slower, but they work hard, because I had provided concrete proof of hidden assets. They froze his accounts pending an audit. This included the joint account he had drained. He couldn't access a dime. He was jobless, his assets were frozen, and he was stuck in a house he couldn't afford with a woman he now hated. I needed help organizing the final legal blows, so I hired a forensic accountant named Torin. Torin was sharp, quiet, and incredibly kind, everything Ansel wasn't. We spent late nights going over the finances. There was a spark there, a connection, but I was focused on revenge. "Opal," Torin said one evening, looking at a spreadsheet. "You need to see this." He turned the screen. He had been tracing Mercy's spending habits. "She didn't just drain your account," Torin said. "She has access to your parents' retirement fund. Look at these withdrawals." Mercy had stolen $40,000 from Sabine and Lucien over the last 6 months to pay for designer clothes and her failing boutique. I stared at the numbers. My parents had treated me like dirt. They had sided with the thief. "Do I tell them?" I asked Torin. Torin looked at me. "That's up to you. Do you want to save them or let her finish the job?" It was a heavy choice. If I told them, I saved their future. If I stayed silent, Mercy would bleed them dry and they would deserve it. I decided to give them one chance, just one. I invited Sabine and Lucien to dinner at a neutral restaurant. They arrived looking arrogant, probably expecting an apology from me for ruining the party. "We're ready to accept your apology," Lucien said, unfolding his napkin. I didn't order food. I slid a folder across the table. "Mercy has stolen $40,000 from your retirement fund. Here is the proof." Sabine didn't even open the folder. She pushed it back. "Stop it, Opal. You are obsessed. You falsified that audio and now you're falsifying documents. You are jealous because Mercy is the favorite." "She lied about the baby," I said. "She made a mistake out of love," Sabine said. "Something you wouldn't understand." That was the moment the last thread of attachment snapped. I picked up the folder. "Okay," I said calmly. I walked over to the shredder in the restaurant's business corner. It was a fancy place that offered printing services. I fed the documents into the machine while they watched. "Fine, don't believe me," I said over the whirring noise. "Good luck retiring." I walked out of the restaurant and blocked their numbers. The clock was ticking on the house. Since Ansel had lost his job and his accounts were frozen, he hadn't paid the second mortgage, the one Mavis found in Chapter 7, in 3 months. The bank initiated foreclosure proceedings. A notice was pasted on the front door. I sat in Mavis's office. "I want to buy the note," I said. "You want to pay his debt?" Mavis asked. "No," I said. "I want to buy the debt from the bank. I want to become the lender." Torin helped me set up a shell company called Vengeance Holdings LLC. We approached the bank. They were happy to offload a toxic loan for a lump sum. I used the last of my personal savings and a small loan from Mavis to buy it. I now owned the debt on my own house. I was their landlord. Ansel and Mercy were still living in the house, miserable and broke. The electricity had been cut off twice. They received a letter from Vengeance Holdings LLC demanding full payment of the arrears or immediate eviction. They called the number on the letterhead, desperate to beg for an extension. I sat in my apartment, watching my phone ring. I picked it up. "Vengeance Holdings," I answered, using my best professional voice. "Hello," Ansel sounded frantic. "Look, we just need a little time. I'm looking for work and—" "Rent is due, Ansel," I said, dropping the professional tone. The silence on the other end was deafening. It stretched for 10 seconds. "Opal," he whispered. "You have 3 days to vacate," I said, "or the sheriff comes to drag you out." I hung up. They panicked. Desperation makes people do stupid things. Mercy convinced herself that I must have some blackmail material in my apartment that she could use to stop me. She didn't know I had installed a silent alarm system. I was at the grocery store when my phone alerted me. Entry detected. I watched the camera feed. Mercy was climbing through my bathroom window. She started tearing through my drawers looking for, I don't know what, my laptop, the burn book. I called the police. "There is an intruder in my home. I am watching her on camera." The police arrived in 3 minutes. They caught Mercy holding my jewelry box. Here is the kicker. I had done a background check on Mercy weeks ago. She was currently on probation for shoplifting at a Sephora 6 months prior. That was a secret she had kept from the family. By breaking into my house, she violated her probation. She was arrested on the spot and held without bail. The collapse was total. Mercy was in jail. Ansel was facing eviction. And then my parents went to the bank. They finally checked their accounts. They realized the money was gone. $40,000 vanished. They showed up at my apartment door late one rainy Tuesday. They looked old, defeated. Sabine was crying. "Opal," Lucien said, his voice trembling. "We have nothing. Mercy took it all. We can't pay our property taxes." "We're family," Sabine sobbed. "We made a mistake. Please, can we stay with you until we get back on our feet?" I looked at them. I saw the people who told me to shut up and go back to the altar. I saw the people who chose a lie over my truth. "You chose your family at the altar," I said. "You picked Mercy. You can go ask her for help during visiting hours at the county jail." I closed the door in their faces and locked the deadbolt. Ansel needed money for a lawyer for Mercy, and he needed money to move out. He had to liquidate everything. He held a fire sale in the driveway of the house. His gaming setup, his expensive suits, his golf clubs, even his watch, a Rolex I had bought him as an engagement gift. I attended the sale. I didn't hide. I walked right up the driveway. Ansel looked at me with hollow eyes. He looked like a ghost. "How much for the watch?" I asked. "Opal, please," he whispered. "Just leave me alone." "How much?" I repeated. 500, he said. It was worth 10,000. I handed him $500 cash. He handed me the watch. I took a hammer out of my purse. I placed the watch on the concrete driveway and smashed it until the glass shattered and the gears flew out. I left the pieces there and walked away without looking back. The final divorce hearing was anticlimactic. Ansel couldn't afford a lawyer, so he represented himself. He looked disheveled and tired. Mavis was a shark. She presented the timeline of the fraud, the theft of the joint account, the emotional abuse, and the false police reports regarding my job. She played the audio of Mercy, admitting the fake pregnancy. The judge was not amused. "Mr. Vane," the judge said, looking over his glasses, "your conduct is reprehensible." The verdict was swift. The judge voided the prenup due to fraud. He awarded me full ownership of the house. He ordered Ansel to repay the $80,000 he stole, a judgment he would be paying off for the rest of his life. He granted me damages for emotional distress. Ansel left the courtroom with nothing but debt and a criminal record from the tax fraud. I walked out a free woman. 6 months later, the house looked different. I had repainted every room. I burned the furniture they had used. It smelled like sage and fresh paint. I was hosting a housewarming party. The house was full of new friends, people who knew me and loved me. Leif was there. We had reconciled after he testified for me. Mavis was there, drinking the expensive wine. Torin was in the kitchen, opening a bottle of champagne. He smiled at me, a warm, genuine smile that made my stomach flutter. Then there was a knock at the door. The music stopped. I checked the Ring camera on my phone. It was Ansel. He looked rough. His clothes were worn. He was holding a single, wilted rose. "Opal," he said to the camera, "I know you're in there. Please, I made a mistake. I miss you. Mercy ruined my life. You're the only good thing I ever had. Please just open the door." Torin came up behind me. "Do you want me to handle it?" "No," I said. "I got this." I pressed the talk button on the app. My voice came out of the doorbell speaker, crisp and clear. "Show's over, Ansel." I tapped the screen and turned off the porch light, leaving him standing in the dark. I put my phone in my pocket, turned back to my guests, and raised my glass. "To new beginnings," I said. And for the first time in a long time, I really meant it.